Paris. That is really good.
Okay, let's make sure that the group is all here. Just remember your name. King.
This is not this. Forget this. Yeah.
We should all follow you.
For today, I'll let you
I'm the assistant of the king. That's fine. Okay, so we are being brought up, right? Can you hear me down there?
Yes.
Being brought up to the Vatican Hill, the one that is called Vatican Hill. That is one of the hills of the city of Rome, even though we know, and if you did, you're going to do the Colosseum, you're going to do it with Susanna? Okay. So, she will tell you that Rome has seven hills, and it's true. But actually, Rome has 10 hills, and the Vatican is one of them. But it's considered to be not one of the 7 hills of the city, not one of the official ones. So it's like the 10th one. They used to say that at the bottom of this hill there used to be a rooster. It used to sing. It sings like this in here. Kikiriki! Like this. Okay? So it used to make it used to foresee the future. Okay? So picture in Italian word is Vaticinio. That is why they called it Vaticano, the Vatican. Yes.
Was the first woman.
Okay, so do you want to take the picture?
Yeah.
Start? Okay, give me a phone.
Yeah.
Someone
We're
say
gonna
I'm not that
use
bad as a
we're gonna use King's phone for the
Okay,
picture.
King's phone.
Yeah.
It's been required.
George. Yeah.
You come over
Enter.
now.
Oh.
We're gonna take a picture.
Okay, so just a quick wrap up of history before we start talking about St. Peter's. It'll last a minute, we're talking about 8 centuries. That's a big deal, isn't it? Anyway, so Rome was founded 8 centuries before Jesus Christ. There used to be a man who was the king of Rome, that was a monarchy then. It was called the Romulus. I'm sure that with Susanna, she'll talk about this afterwards. Romulus was the first of the kings of Rome. There used to be 7 kings of Rome. And they were just ruling the city until the 6th century BC. Not only ruling the city, but also conquering around Italy. Then, from the 6th century to the 1st century BC, we had instead a republic, different political change. So there used to be generals who were conquering also north and south of Europe, east and south of Europe, until we got till Egypt and Greece. That was a time in the 1st century BC that there was another political change, and that became the empire. The empire started with a family of emperors who was called the Julius Claudius. First emperor was Augustus, and the last of this family was Nero. So Nero was the one who was killing actually martyring St. Peter's here in Rome. Okay, here we are. Wow. This is interesting. Maybe it's a little bit more than a minute. I get improved. Anyway, so a funny story about Nero. One day Nero wanted to be pregnant. What? Can you imagine a man who wants to be pregnant? Well, he went to some doctors and he said to them, you know, I saw some ladies with this big belly like this. I want to be pregnant like them. So doctors looked at him and says, sorry, no possible. Oh, no, oh, that's so interesting. You know what? You and all your families, cut your heads. Is that possible? I said, yes, that's possible. Oh my God, how can we do this? So one of them said, guys, I got an idea. We can just give him a frog, he'll eat the frog, and get pregnant. You insane? I said, well, trust me, the emperor is much more insane than me. Yeah. So he eat the frog. So the day after, the emperor on his throne, waiting for his frog, he didn't know what it was, and all the doctors, in a solemn way, just they entered and they showed him the frog on a tray. Is that what I should eat? Yes, that's the only way in which you can get pregnant. Okay, I'll do it. And yeah, well, I told you. And he was like, okay. Ooh. Wash your machine. The emperor was so happy that he just jumped on top of a horse and he gave it to showing everybody it's very
If you take
It is also said that once he approached the Tiber River, the frog knew that wanted to go back. And so the frog went out of the body of Nero. We don't want to know where from, but went out of the body of Nero. Okay. Okay, just a funny story about Nero to say though that Nero was very evil and wicked.
I'm mad. Most of them were though, right?
Nero used to own a circus that was just where nowadays is St. Peter's Church. And basically he was, owning this circus, he decided to kill St. Peter's over there in the circus. It was like a place where they could make chariot races. So you just imagine, have you been to Navona Square?
No, not yet.
Anyway,
No, we went there yesterday.
you are going
Navona Square.
Lavona.
Let me show you. The one with the big fountain.
Yeah, we went there yesterday.
Yeah, I'm sure with the golf cart you should have.
Yes.
Because I saw the picture with the golf cart.
You people are not listening to the
history lessons, I am.
So this is the
Yes, we
church.
did, we went
This is this is St. Peter's Church, St. Peter's Church, and this is St. Peter's Square. And this was the circus where he was martyred. He was martyred with the head upside down, and he was crucified with the head upside down. Being crucified with the head upside down, that was because, sorry? He was tortured, yes. Being crucified with the head upside down, it was because basically he couldn't defy the glory of Jesus Christ. So he needed to be crucified in a different way, not like him. And then the body was brought to a place. Nobody cared about his body because they thought it was like just heretic. And but early Christians who wanted just to believe to the words of him, they basically stole his body during the night to give him a dignified burial place, which is in here, which is in there. So once we see the dome outside, we know that that is a place where he was buried. Okay, from the inside instead, we're going to see that is going to be instead a place where there's the baldachin. We're going to see the big baldachin and the dome, the altar where the Pope celebrates Mass. Okay, so this was 67 AD. Now we're going to jump centuries because history is long. We're going to get until Renaissance, and before you kill me because it's so long. Okay. So, 1st century AD was killed. Then, 3rd century AD, Rome was split into two empires. It was too big, so we needed to have the Eastern Empire, Constantinople, and Rome, that was the Western Empire. From Constantinople, a man called Constantine came over here. He was baptized by a pope, and he became the first Christian emperor. And this meant that he made a church, he built a church dedicated to St. Peter's. The first church, it was a church of 5 naves, in which people could enter through this gate over here that there used to be also a fountain. And we'll see just some piece of a fountain that is just in the next garden. Well, this was a great political and religious change because, of course, most important religion now was, Christianity. And from the 4th century AD, we started having so much people who were coming from northern side of Europe, the barbarians, the one who had been conquered by the Romans, who wanted to get their own revenge. So they came back here, then they really looted the city. They sacked everything in the city, roads, marble, whatever it was, in here. And in fact, you see all the, just a little anticipation spoiler of the Colosseum, you see a lot of holes. If Susanetta will ask you, what about these holes? You will know that those holes are because there is pennies inside, which were taken away by the barbarians, and then they were converted into coins, for example. You know, so that's why we'll see holes everywhere in the city in the ruins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you've noticed that. Yes.
In the
Ciao.
Ark Colosseum. Love it.
And so basically this was lasting until the 9th century, when then the Saracens used to come over here, 11th century, 1300 when popes used to go to France because it was not worth living in here anymore. And then there used to be a time instead when Pope came back from France and they didn't even recognize that this was, a city like it used to be in the past time. Because they were watching and they saw only like obscurity because the city was a total ruin. The Pope used to say that it was broad daylight, but he thought it was night because it's like dark. But then something happened, and I need remind me your name. Rebecca, I need Rebecca please to come in on the stage to show us how would you represent a flower blooming from the soil. Bloom from the soil. Let's do it together. Okay. There we go. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So you just represented what we can call Renaissance. Okay? Renaissance means a new birth. So new artists, new buildings, new paintings, a revolution, a total revolution. That meant that that church made by Constantine needed to be destroyed because it was not useful anymore. And so Bramante was the first one in the beginning of 1500 started. It was called the one who ruined everything, the master who ruined everything, because he actually was destroying the other one and started putting the bases and the foundations for this one. It took 120 years to build this church. Wow. So long time, and so many artists used to work on this one. But the most important one was Michelangelo. Michelangelo was 89 years old.
Was it? Okay.
You heard well. 89 years old when he made the project of this. And he said, guys, I don't think I'm going to be paid for the project of the dome because I think that God will pay me with the sky. Well, he was absolutely right because he never had the chance to see it finished. Because he passed away, he died. And then something was found underneath his bed, which was a bag with the equivalent of 1 million euros. Wow. In the bank, he was owning 46 million euros and nobody knew anything about that. So it was an incredible, it was so rich that, it was just roaming around in the city, like with the same boots for like 3 years. So it was not someone who was, it was such a character, that. So we'll discover something more about him afterwards. Anyway, that is the highest point of the city, even though I've just told you a half lie. Because is this Rome?
Vatican.
This is the Vatican City, that's it. So we are in another city. So this is the highest point of Vatican City together with the city of Rome. So that's why it had to be completed.
Okay.
So that is interesting. It's important from this point of view. And it's basically from up there, you can see the whole city. Today maybe it's too cloudy, but it's 551 steps to go up, and if you use an elevator, it's 220 to be safe. Okay, so now we're going to be moving to the next step. No worries.
How many steps are the 60 something steps.
I don't want to bother my colleague. Follow me.